Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me again here on the Titans of Food Service podcast. Welcome back to the show. Glad you could join me. If you enjoy the show, please, if you could leave me a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts, that would mean the world to me. When I started this, I know I've mentioned 1,000 times on this show, I'm trying to bring learnings and value to people in the food service industry, maybe even people who aren't in the food service industry or who want to get into it. So please, when you share content of mine on LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever you get it, and when you leave reviews on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, places like that, that really helps out. So thank you. I appreciate you. Back this week, from last week, I was in the Pizza Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada. It was a great show. It was so busy. It was great to see some clients, some distributors, some operators. The whole place was humming pretty good for the day I was there. I was there on Tuesday. You know, for people that aren't exhibiting there, you may maybe take a look at that. I do a lot of these types of shows and events, and some are not so good. Some are excellent. Some are just okay. You know, I'd put this as a top show to go to. I mean, if you're in the pizza ingredient space, it's a no-brainer. You should be there. But then you're also starting to see more manufacturers that are not necessarily in the pizza ingredient space or in the pizza business who are exhibiting. You know, I see some brands that are maybe other ethnic type brands, or maybe products that have may not necessarily fit into a pizza operator, but they're there, and you know what? They're getting a lot of attention because they kind of stick out a little bit. You've got a lot of different, sauces or meats or cheeses or, different types of ingredients that go into the pizza, but there's so much more, to be sold within an operator in that space. So something to think about for the future. Back here on this podcast today, I'm excited to bring another episode. I wanted to talk a little bit, going through the show and just my experience in the last 10 years as a food broker. I see there's a change in food service landscape, especially on the sales side. So in the 10 years I've been doing this, it's kind of in the most simple, basic way to say it, it's three things in food service. We build relationships, we work the distributor network, and we rely on face-to-face meetings. Hence, food shows like the Pizza Expo, or when you go to a Cisco show or a U.S. food show or whatever it may be, face-to-face, very important to your business. That model worked really well and will continue to work well, but it only works to a degree because things are changing. If you look at other industries, let's take like the clothing industry, for example. At one time, you would just go to Macy's or JCPenney or Nordstrom or wherever you shop, and you'd go on, you'd try shoes, you'd try shirts, you'd try shorts and pants, dresses, whatever it is, and then you'd pick what you like from what they had there, and that's what you'd wear, moving forward. Now, with technology, there's brands or there's companies that do in-home clothing delivery, such as Stitch Fix. Essentially, with Stitch Fix, they'll send you a box with 5 items in it. You pay $20 for the box. It's almost like a mystery box, but you're paired with a designer, if you will, and you get to choose different brands online. You can kind of click through and choose the ones you like. And the box shows up at your house, and you get to try everything on. If something doesn't fit, you can send it back and get a different size. But the things and of the 5 things, maybe there's only 1, or maybe there's 2, 3, or maybe there's all of them that you enjoy, and then you get to keep that, and then you send the rest back in the mail. They give you a bag and then a return seal to send back to them, and then they just bill you for what you bought. It's the same concept as when you used to go into the brick and mortar locations to try on stuff. You're still trying on things, but they're leveraging technology. They're hitting you in your home. You're going online to do this. It's low touch point. You're not working with anybody directly. You have your designer, but you've never met them. You've never been on a call with them. So that's just one example of probably thousands of other industries leveraging technology or digital marketing or whatever it may be to build their brand. And I'm starting to see, a little bit more food service companies move towards that, not necessarily in-home box sales. I'm not saying that, but there are other things in our industry that people are now starting to leverage. And I'll talk about that, kind of a few different things, a couple different topics, or a few different topics maybe that you should start to get into. You don't have to be proficient and amazing today on day one, but you kind of do small little bits and pieces over time. And hey, you know what? Maybe see some differences in your business. Especially coming here in 2025, there's the risk of tariffs. We see that a lot in the news. Are they coming? Are they not coming? When are they going to come? How much are they going to be? All these types of things. Also, some slowing in sales cycles in food service as well. You have at the distributor level, they're really focused, especially the more traditional broadline. They're really focused on their private label. They're trying to push those types of items. So if you're not in that niche of products, you have to really get out there and build your business in a different way. Because it kind of slows down the sales cycle. There's other things of, a whole umbrella of logistics. You've got imports that you compete with, maybe price or availability, those types of things. You have other competitors coming in, people and brands that are making adjacent or like products or very similar products to you. Maybe they're adding more value. Maybe they're adding a different value. Maybe there's lower cost, maybe a higher cost. It really just depends. There's more competition. So I see a little bit of slowing in the food service ecosystem. Also, too, at some point, the economy's been pretty resilient coming out of COVID. I know discretionary spending has been pretty good overall from my understanding. And so we'll see what it looks like as time goes on. So it's important as a brand, as you go through these, it's the ebbs and flows of anything. As you go through the ups and the downs, you want to make sure that you're building your business throughout and continue to build your brand as well. It's super important. Also, too, I in working with my clients, a lot of them feel that the operator is getting further away, that the distributor really has that relationship. They're pushing, again, their private label, or maybe they have their contract managed. So you don't, unless you have maybe a Sedexa contract or an Aramark contract, that they're not necessarily going to buy from you. Maybe they're having centralized buying at some of these operators, so it's further away. You have to take a flight there or many-hour drive or whatever it may be. It's starting to feel like these operators are feeling a little bit further away. And so that traditional face-to-face, some people call it belly-to-belly, which is kind of funny, like, essentially face-to-face selling, that type of technique. It still works really, really well, but it may not be as scalable as other options that are out there. So kind of just some things to think about with the business. You go from kind of your traditional door-to-door sales professional. Now we want to take that old school mentality, because I don't want to get away from that drag the bag, love and passion for food, and getting in front of a chef and having them cook it up and try it and see their reaction and getting your products on their menu. Like, it just feels so good. It's such a rush. And I never want to get away from that, but maybe there's a way to enhance that. So on this episode, I want to go through some different solutions that I'm seeing, and these are speaking from my experience. So the first one is around LinkedIn. I know a lot of people have talked about it, but I think if you're not in the game, you should be. And here's why. I've been in the LinkedIn game since 2020, posting consistently, thinking about different topics and ideas, and that's my content. Even this podcast, I'll take little snippets and clips of this episode and post it on LinkedIn. And it's a good way to get my own personal brand out there and drive my message of trying to teach and educate people on the world of food service through my eyes, through a broker's eyes. So these types of things. And what's great about LinkedIn is all of the decision makers, or let's say an overwhelming majority of decision makers that you want to interact with, they're right here on one platform, on LinkedIn, online. Logging in daily, sometimes many times a day, multiple times a day, or weekly or monthly, so that when they log in, you want them to see you, my friend. Yeah, they want them to see you, not your competition. We don't want them thinking about products that are not yours or brands that are not you. We want them thinking about you. The content doesn't have to be the greatest thing you've ever seen, but it's just getting out there and posting something. If you're at a food show, take a selfie, put it online. You make a sale, celebrate it. You don't have to necessarily say, I sold my product to, give an example, this stadium or this restaurant chain. You don't have to name them directly, but talk about the process and how you got there, and and maybe the opportunity. Those types of things, those resonate with people. Talk about your struggle. Maybe you didn't sell something, or maybe your product fell short, or maybe you lost business because you couldn't service that customer. Talk about those experiences, those things. It's real, it's raw. People connect with people. People want to support you. They want to get behind you as a person, You just have to share your experiences. And and LinkedIn's a great place to do that. Proof in point, when I go to a food show, for example, let's take the International Pizza Expo last week in Las Vegas. As I go around the show, people come up to me and say, hey, I saw this podcast episode and it really resonated with me. I've had people get emotional, whether it's excitement or some people it hit, maybe some of my messages have hit more of a somber tone, maybe a negative experience in their life. But people come up, or maybe I've my long form posts, essentially my writing things out, things that catch people's eye and they share it and they see it online, those types of things. So that when they come up to me, they already know who I am. I may not necessarily have ever met them, or maybe we've connected online and didn't necessarily recognize them on first glance in person. But those types of things help me and my brand and myself when I go in to make a sales presentation, that the person already has a little background on who I am. It's all about social proof, right? If I have proof that the person that I'm talking to has experience, or they have success or knowledge in whatever it may be, you become a little bit more comfortable with that person before they even say a word. And then from there you can go, because if you're listening to this, in your journey, you may be the most experienced person in the industry, or maybe you're just on day one. Either way, this type of stuff, it really helps. If you're the most experienced person, give some good, excellent, deep insight on the food service industry and the things that you've learned. If you're green and have never spent a day, but this is your first day in food service, talk about it. Talk about the things you're learning today. Even if it seems basic, talk about it. Talk about your journey, where you want to go, and what your daily, weekly, monthly, yearly life looks like. People want to hear that and they resonate with it. So that's kind of the topic number one with brands, is really getting online. Maybe LinkedIn's your vessel. It could be YouTube. I use YouTube. It could be Facebook. Maybe being part of Facebook groups. I'm in part of a K-12 Facebook group where people share different ideas and updates in their lives. It's really great to be able to connect with people on these different mediums. The second part is being able to track operator demand. I'm seeing a lot of manufacturers get into that, starting to buy data, whether it's like Data Essentials is a great example, where they're providing data to these manufacturers of, hey, these are maybe some segments and channels that you should look at and be in. So that when the manufacturer makes decisions, they say, hey, let's move to this segment over here to the right. We feel that there's opportunity. Maybe let's create some new products because there's demand for it. And then we can point our sales and marketing efforts directly towards it. So operator data, super important. I'm seeing a lot of brands go towards it. And it's very effective. Now, if you could take the data and then match it with actual contact information and relationships, remember that old school, that knocking on doors, that's where that comes in. Taking that with the data and pairing it together, recipe for success if you do it really well and at a high scale across your whole team or with yourself, or maybe you're training other people on your brand and how to sell your products, whatever it may be. And then the last one is really, there's only so many hours in the day. Even if you have 1,000 sales professionals on your team, they all have the same limited resource, and that's time. There's only so much time in a day, a week, a month, a year to be able to sell. If you think about it in a 30-day time, how many days, in a month's time, how many of those days are weekends or holidays, or you're working a food show, or you're spending a large majority of your day traveling, maybe you're going from the West to the East Coast, those types of things. So you start to, lose days. So maybe what should be 30 days in total, you can't sell all of those days. Maybe down to 20, maybe down to 15, maybe some months you're down to 10. It just really depends, or maybe less. So it's focusing and maximizing your time around what really matters. And if you're going to point your sales arrow at anything, shoot big. Go for the large leverage operators. You've probably heard that, LLO for short. That's where your time should be. The operator, let's stay on the theme of Italian. The pizza operator on the corner that only maybe could buy 2 cases a week of your product, or a case a week, that's a fantastic, I'm sure it's a fantastic business. They've been there a long time. They do great work. But in a sales situation, you really want to go hunting for the big fish. If I wanted to, maybe it's a pizza operator, maybe can I find one that has 10 units? Maybe one that has 50 units. Maybe that one that has over 100 units. Can I focus my time there, present my products to them? Because when they buy, the sales cycle is longer. It's a little bit slower. It's a lot slower. But when you get that hit, whew, brother, big time. Product moves. Distributor has to bring it in. They have to stock it for you. You put a price in. You build a relationship with them. Then in the future, you can show them other items. That's how you build your business. So leverage things like get on LinkedIn, build your brand. They don't know you exist. You can't assume people know who you are. Get out there, build that brand, broadcast it everywhere. Track, as you build your brand, track the data. Who are the operators in the segments and the channels that I should be in? Once I figure that, get a little more granular. Find the large leverage operators that can buy your product and move it in big volumes. So again, build the brand, find the channels, then go out there and make the relationships with the operators and the decision makers that make sense to you. That's my message for today. Thank you. I'll see you next week. I drop an episode every Wednesday. Again, if you can leave me a 5-star review, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasting, that would be amazing. Thank you.